There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Ooh, what's up and welcome into episode number 49 of the Program Guys podcast. My name is Mason Prince, joined with you as always by Ryan Tyson, Mark Hall, Matt Gann, Patrick Hertzberger. Today is Tuesday, December 13th. Be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Trying to hit 1,300 subscribers on our YouTube channel by the end of the month. It'd be massive if we could start the new year in 2023 with 1,300 of the best people in the GD world. Love to see it. Keep on liking, subscribing. You can follow us on Twitter, Program Guys with a Z, Instagram, Program Guys with a Z, our Facebook page, Program Guys Podcast. However you get your podcast, that's where you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all good. All five boys back again for the first time in what feels like a month. Yeah. Fellas, how we doing?
Woo! Feeling good, living better. That's what I like.
That's right. The boys are back.
What was that? What was that noise, Gan?
That was we haven't done the
someone's excited.
Yeah, the new noise alert that
new segment, yeah.
New segment, yeah. So I had to do something. I had to bring the heat. So.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think it's felt like a month, Mason, because I think it has been a month.
I think it's
been a while. So
I think you're probably right.
It's good to see everybody's faces.
Yep, I'm back in Oklahoma after my work trip in Florida. Good to be back in the home studio. I guess I can call it a home studio. Patrick, how we doing on the West Coast?
Good. It's colder here than I'd like it to be, but Christmas lights are up and I'm loving it.
Gotta love it. Mark?
Living life, baby. I excited for this week's episode.
I know. So let's get right to it. So, folks, if you're watching this episode or listening to this episode right now, you know that the Oklahoma Sooners are playing the Florida State Seminoles in the Cheez-It Bowl in a couple weeks. We're not going to talk deep into the Cheez-It Bowl today. So the 2022 regular season is in the books, right? Not the best season for the Oklahoma Sooners, but we're not going to entirely move on to the bowl game just yet. We kind of want to do a deep dive this episode, if you'll indulge us. Whoops. Sorry, audio on my computer. Don't know if you could hear that. Getting a text message from our producer, Trevor. So we're going to talk about this season. We're going to deep dive into the season that was, what went right, what went wrong on both sides of the ball, and how Brent Venables and his staff in particular can improve, try to go from the bowl game into next season and make this team a better product in 2023. Sound good, boys?
I can't wait.
Am I right on that, Mark? It was Mark's idea, and it's a great idea. I want to make sure that I'm on the
right. Yeah. Well, okay, so let's hit on some of the new stuff and the Baker stuff first, and then we'll go into exactly how we're gonna do it. But deep dive recap episode. Really excited to get into it. All of us brought a different little thing that we're gonna talk about all over the place. We'll get into it, but I hope it's gonna be a fun. I know it'll be a fun talk.
Yeah.
Hope it's a fun listen.
All right, real quick, boys. Baker Mayfield, we have to start with Baker, I feel like, because last Thursday night came in off of a jet plane, 2 days with the Rams, and he goes in there on Thursday Night Football and gets a win. What a game. What a performance from Baker. They didn't put him in the first drive, which was kind of weird.
Silly.
So, like, when you saw whoever that quarterback was, I can't even remember his name. Thank you. He trotted out there and you're like, all right, well, they're not really going to play Baker tonight unless they literally have to. And then they went 3-and-out in the first series. And the next series, Sean McVay was like, all right, I've seen enough. And that's just crazy to me. Like, why wouldn't you just start him then? But,
well, I mean, you don't start him because of what you just said, Mason. He had been there for 36 hours.
Yeah. So 3 plays makes him more prepared?
Yeah,
that's my thing.
I think at that point they were like, well, got nothing else to lose. Let's just throw him in there.
I think they would have waited a little
Did
longer.
Walford even throw like the football on his
I don't know if he
plays?
I mean, he probably did. He probably threw one pass on a third down or something.
Probably like a 3rd and 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing. I almost cried. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, it was a great Twitter night, man.
I got a little teary-eyed at the end because I'm just like, I'm so happy for him. He's been through a lot this year.
I know.
He's been through a lot this year. And I thought for sure when he started with Carolina, and he didn't play great, obviously. He had one of like the worst QBRs in the league, or if not the worst. I was scared he was done. I was scared his career was just going to tank and never come back. And Now look at him. I mean, this might last for a week. We don't know, but at least he's on the top of the mountain right now. And all of us who've supported him for so long, I think are feeling pretty good after that performance.
He was
Not
22 for 35, 230 yards, and a touchdown. Go ahead, Pat. Or Matt, whoever it was.
Yeah, not only are you guys excited because we've supported him since college, I'm excited because my second favorite football team, the Rams, have my guy at quarterback. It feels great to be a Rams fan and have named my dog Baker.
That boy.
That's
boy.
true.
Mayfield.
That's true.
And a lot of people thought that was silly until
Heck no.
this past Thursday night. Was not silly. Go ahead, Ryan.
I just have a question for you, Pat. Were you one of the people who thought it was silly before Thursday night?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Could we get the countdown? The updated countdown? I didn't know Rams were in second.
Oh yeah, Rams
not
are
the
in second,
Bears?
Definitely. Houston Texans will always be number one.
Okay.
Then
Cool.
the Rams.
Big Jack Easterby guy. That's when you came on
No,
board.
absolutely
Is that right?
not. Easterby is the worst person ever.
Okay.
Worst person ever.
Okay. Glad he's gone then, huh?
Behind
Yeah.
Deshaun.
Yeah.
And
Number 3.
then the Ravens.
Okay.
Got it. My boy Lamar is still so underrated.
So Rams
and then
two,
the Bears.
Ravens three.
And then I'd go with the Bears fourth, but I'm kind of just over the Bears.
Yeah.
So they finally have an exciting quarterback, and you're like,
You're just like, I
nah.
can't stand him.
done
We'll
with
see
you.
if they account to something in the next couple of years. Might bring him back in. Might slide him into third.
You're just literally calling yourself a bandwagon fan right now. Like,
A little bit.
Matt,
I'm tied to each
Matt,
city
what-
except for Baltimore.
What about Baker, Matt? Jump in there, brother.
Yeah, super happy for him. Obviously, we saw what happened in the Browns organization, the whole Deshaun Watson thing. He got caught up in that. Obviously, got traded to Carolina. We thought it would be kind of like his, hey, this is a fresh new start. Gets Christian McCaffrey, a better O-line. They get rid of Christian McCaffrey. They start to tank, and then gets benched throughout the year. So him going into the Rams, having 2 days notice, going in there and getting a big win. I think this is just a horrible loss for the Raiders. They've lost to a head coach who came in a week before, and then they lose to a guy who came in 2 days later to play quarterback. So horrible for the Raiders. Great for Baker. Stafford's got a spinal cord injury, so Baker might be the long-term option for the Rams going forward. Stafford's 37, he's got those types of injuries. Maybe Baker and maybe has found his new home. We'll have to see.
Mark?
Yeah, that's sort of the thing to me too, is if Matt Stafford's shoulder is not fixable, if it's not something that he can get right and play right next season, Baker Mayfield's more than capable of running the ship for Sean McVay, I think. I think that, he doesn't bring Matt Stafford's high-end arm that we saw last season during the Super Bowl run, but he is a very smart player. He's a very cerebral player. He gets a little yippy in the pocket. I think we can all agree with that. And he's not a super ceiling raiser at an NFL level, right? Sean McVay made it work with Jared Goff. And I think that notwithstanding the success that Goff is having this year, Baker is a good enough quarterback to run that same offense to similar success. Again, he's not going to raise your ceiling, but you're not going to pay him like a ceiling raiser either. So let's see how he closes the season out. Sorry about that. And, maybe it's a moot point. We'll see what happens. But at the very least, I'd be surprised if they didn't want to bring him back as backup, understudy, starter in waiting for Matt Stafford.
So the last thing I have on this, and then we can kind of move on, is that this is why I've always been a Baker guy. If you follow me on Twitter, if you talk to me in person, my Twitter bio at Mason Prince TV, I have Baker Mayfield apologist in my bio. Like, I am Team Baker all the way. And that game on Thursday night is exactly why I love Baker Mayfield so much on a football field, is because he's one of the only guys in the league who can go in there on 2 days' notice, BS his way to a win, and have you captivated from start to finish. That's a 17-16 game. That's not an exciting game. It's not a riveting football game. The Rams didn't look very good offensively for the majority of the game, to be quite frank. And in the last drive, Baker takes them down there, drives them, wins the game with a touchdown late. in the locker room. You see the guys reacting to Baker. You see Sean McVay reacting to Baker. People rally around this guy. They've rallied around him forever. That's why you saw the reaction from NFL players, from coaches, from former teammates, all on Twitter, on social media, all that stuff about how happy they were for Baker, because newsflash, no matter what Colin Cowherd says, he's not a dickhead. He's a solid football player who just wants to play football and be a good teammate. That's all he wants to do. And I'm glad he got to do it on Thursday night for a team who's functional and can at least won a Super Bowl last year. So that's my Baker spiel. Anything else before we move on?
He's got a good coach now. So let's see what he does with a good coach.
Let's see. Maybe he needs to be a backup. Mark made the point a couple weeks ago. Maybe that's what he needs to be.
Well, and he's got a good coach, and he doesn't have to look over his shoulder, because Sean McVay knows what he has in John Wolford. It's not Matt Rule looking to save his job with PJ Walker or Sam Darnold, where he's got to win games and be looking over his shoulder every week. No, Baker gets his 4 weeks or so left to cook a little bit. I think that's pretty cool.
Let Baker cook. Some OU football news before we get into the breakdown of the season. Theo Weiss heading to Mizzou. He announced that a couple days ago, over the weekend, I believe. So he's heading to Mizzou. Wish Theo the best of luck. Weird choice for me. I guess Mizzou offered him the featuredness that he so desired. So I hope that's what he gets, and I hope he goes off. That'd be great to see. Anything else on Theo?
I appreciate this because he went to a school where I was just like, okay, no feelings. That's great. Good luck. Appreciate it. So that was nice.
I mean, it's not USC, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
He wasn't
or
gonna be
anywhere else in the
guy.
Big 12.
He was going to go to USC and be the number 4 guy. So I get the fear that OU fans had, but if Jaden Hazelwood didn't go there, he wasn't going to go there either. You know what I mean? That's
true.
That's just where I'm at. Anybody else?
I'm glad he's going to get to go against good defenses every weekend, show off what he can do against those players, and hopefully raise his draft stock, because I'm not sure that we know he felt he didn't have much of a future here. Yeah. Maybe he can build something with his last few years of eligibility that gets him an NFL contract. That would be awesome.
Perfect. Matt?
Team Theo.
Love it. Some rumors. The rumor mill was kind of swirling today, brought to you by Brett McMurphy of Stadium, or whoever he's with now, the Action Network.
Thank you.
Action Network.
Thank you.
They specialize in gambling.
Oh, how about that? That's pretty cool. So Brett McMurphy had some rumor mills that OU and Texas could be joining the SEC in 2024. That is a year earlier than as previously stated. So that's the newsworthiness of it. I don't feel great about it, because the more time you can spend in the Big 12 and accumulate recruiting classes and development before you get into the SEC and have to deal with that, the better. But this is the bed we've made, so now we got to lie in it, is kind of where I'm at with it as well.
I'm taking a different approach. Sign me up, baby. I'm ready to go.
Okay.
That is going to be the first.
You're scared, go to church.
That's going to be the first year that probably Jackson Arnold is starting. That is going to be the first year of the new college football playoff. I think that I don't want to play scared. I want to go in there, and if we have an opportunity to leave and we can start making more money out of the SEC, is our first few years going to be rough? Potentially, but it's going to have to happen at some point.
Yeah.
And I think just, rip the Band-Aid off. Don't delay it.
Yeah. Mark?
I don't look at it as delaying it when the current thing is scheduled to go towards 25. And like you, Mason, I wish that another year of accumulating talent and developing that talent could be had. That said, the landscape nationwide, I'm looking at Brett McMurphy's article now, and the Big Ten grows to 16 teams that year. And like Brian said, the Big 12 already adds 4. Well, he didn't say this, but the Big 12 adds 4 teams in 23, and he did say the playoff expands to 12 in that year too. There's just a lot of things going on, and why push it if you can minimize the payout, I guess, is the reasoning that they would come to. I'm sure that it's a net positive on the cash side of things if they are looking to do it this way. And cash is king. We know that. So I don't know. I don't think it's good for the football program, but I am sure it's good for the athletic department. So in Josie, we trust, I guess.
Matt?
Yeah, football wise, I agree with Mark. Another year to get another recruiting classes, develop some guys, also improve and upgrade the facilities as well. Obviously, we've seen the Board of Regents put a lot of money, not just into the football program, but across OU athletics. And obviously that takes time as well. That's going to take probably another few years to really improve those facilities. And that's going to be highly what we need to get high recruits for not just softball, football, but again, sports across the board. So I wish we had a little bit more time. I guess we'll see. I feel like we keep getting signals on, hey, it's 2024. It's going to be now. It's going to be 2025. So I guess we'll just see what happens. I'd rather have more time than anything.
Pat, what you got, brother?
I still don't like that we're going to the SEC, really. I would like this to be delayed as much as possible.
Okay, perfect. Let us know down below in the comments what you think of the OU move to the SEC possibly in 2024. We love hearing from you guys. All those comments, we read every single one of them. Love seeing those comments every week. Mark, what'd you have?
Nothing big. I had just truly forgotten that Patrick had that take. So
yeah, I mean, had a 50-50 shot of making the playoffs every year, and that would have continued expanding if we would have expanded to 12 teams. Now, I don't think we do. So another time.
Okay. By the way, bowl season is upon us, my people. And shout out to whoever made this. I think it was Matt or Pat, one of you guys. Which one? Patrick. Love you, Patrick. We have a bowl game pick'em league. So Frat Loops, if you're listening, get your piss hot. You can jump back in our pick'em and actually put some money down on those picks you made. You can make some money responsibly. You can find it on our ESPN. I'm going to put the link down below if you're watching our YouTube channel. Make those picks every single week, and you'll earn points towards being towards the top of the leaderboard, whatever it is. We'll give you a shout out every episode. But I'll put the link in our description on the YouTube, on our Spotify, as well as our Apple Podcasts and probably Google Podcasts as well. I think it goes through there. So look down there and you can get it. Mark?
Yeah, just to be clear real fast, it's not a weekly thing because it's bowl season.
Thank you.
Games start on the 16th, and then the 17th has a ton of games, and it just goes on through bowl season, baby. So it's something you're probably going to want to check periodically throughout the next few weeks because new information is going to come out. We're going to have guys opt out. What's Braden Willis doing? A little bit of a segue into news that Braden Willis made the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
But that's something you're going to want to keep an eye on.
Yeah. So as always, we love when you guys participate in these little pick'ems. It's a whole lot of fun. Love interacting with you guys as well. Talk a little smack on Twitter or social media whenever you get the feeling as well. All right, boys. What do you say? Time to recap the season. Is it time to move on to that segment?
Let's do it.
Large segment here. Okay, so first we're going to start with the offense, okay? 2022. Actually, while we're doing this, I want to get the season stats in front of me so I can say where the offense finished. Hold on, please.
Yeah, and real fast, I'll just fill this time. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah.
So the idea here, guys, is all five of us have a separate idea that we're going to bring to the table about the way the season went. We haven't talked about them. We've seen each other's on the list, but we haven't actually discussed them yet. There's one offense, one defense, and then one wild card. And the wild card can be anything that you want it to be, really. It can be coaching, administration, entertainment, fan involvement, I guess recruiting, whatever it is, whatever you want. We sort of open-ended. Mason, have I stalled enough?
Yeah, you actually have. I appreciate that very much. So we'll start with the OU offense. Some just oversight here. Or a 1,000-foot view. OU finished 18th in the country in total offense. They ran 904 plays for 5,666 yards, 6.27 yards a play, 51 total tutters. So if you're doing the math, that's 472.2 yards per game. All right. who wants to get us started? Patrick, go. We're going to go one at a time. So, Patrick, you go ahead and get us started with your 1,000-foot view recap of the Oklahoma Sooners offense.
I kind of went more specific. Sorry.
That's fine. That's okay. There's no rules.
Yeah,
it's our podcast.
This was my biggest offensive shock of the year, I guess is how I'll say it. Because in the year before against Oklahoma State, he dropped the football, which made us lose the game, and that was Eric Gray. And therefore, we didn't go to the Big 12 championship, and our coach resigned the next day. Him dropping that ball had catastrophic effects on this program, and I really didn't want anything to do with Eric Gray after that. He had a bad year. And this year he came in and played incredible. He definitely won my heart back. He went 1,300 yards, total rushing, 11 touchdowns, averaged 6.4 yards a carry, 213 attempts, 8 games over 100 yards, 33 receptions, 229 yards in the air. Played an absolutely phenomenal seasons. Going to the Senior Bowl, he is predicted to go round 2 or round 3 in the draft. Very thankful for Eric Gray for sticking around and being such a great running back.
Yeah, and to pick up on that just a little bit, when defenses knew he was the best option, that's when Eric Gray continued to be that guy, right? There's 30 carry games out there. He's crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry,
it was his position. Yeah, his position to lose, right? And we thought he was going to lose it with either Marcus Major, Barnes was playing great. Tommy Walker had a great spring game. We were like, maybe he will even beat out Eric Gray. And he kept it and he played great all year.
He looked weak opening up, right? Like we were calling for Marcus Major on this podcast to be.
Hand up. Me and Mark especially were on the Marcus Major train.
Yeah,
driving that bus, and the wheels fell off. And Eric Gray picked him back up, put the wheels back on, and said, "I'm the captain now." Yep. So I loved Eric Gray. He was a great surprise, a great surprise, and I'm excited to see what he does at the next level because he's a guy who I'm very interested to see how he fits into an NFL offense, not in a bad way, but in a really good way. I think he can have a good career like Austin Eckler, kind of. I think that's kind of a cool idea. Ryan.
Yeah, so mine touches a little bit on Eric Gray as well. So I think that's a great segue. I think overall he was the best part of our offense. And I think my overall take on the offense is this has been like a year that is just a roller coaster of inconsistency. And I mean that by everybody except Eric Gray, pretty much, because he has been the only consistent piece really of this offense. I think you can make a case for the offensive line, but really, like, if we're talking about like scoring offense, like the running back like room, and really Eric Gray has been our centerpiece. The other pieces of the offense have been all over the place. You know, this is a year that we had a game versus Kansas where we had 701 yards of offense, one of the most that we've ever had in school history. And it's also a year, and I know I'm going to get arguments against this because it was a specific game, but OU Texas was 195 yards. Like, that was our total offense, was 195 yards. And our loss to West Virginia, we were right around 400 yards. You know, we were inconsistent. Our Nebraska game, we scored 50 something points. Like, we were all over the place, and we could not find consistency up until we still couldn't find it to the end of the season. And like, that is something that we need to figure out before next year, and especially before going into the SEC. Like, Eric Gray, you were amazing. Rest of the offense, you need to be better. You can't, and you have flashes of greatness. You can see them, like, they're there. Like the first quarter of the OSU game, it was beautiful. It was like 28-0. Like it happens really quickly, and we look great. Beginning of the Texas Tech game, we looked great. And then it just falls off the wagon, right? And I think part of that comes with the defense. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we were inconsistent throughout this year, and that was problematic, and we need to clean that up.
God bless. Sometimes, hand up, I listen to the post-game pod after the Nebraska game just to feel something. We were really excited.
We were so excited.
We were talking about going to the playoffs.
What a time to be alive, man. God bless America. That was so great.
To Ryan's point there, all of the stats look pretty good, right? Like they don't. Eric Gray puts up numbers. Marvin Mims puts up numbers. You look up and Dylan Gabriel is rightfully the newcomer of the year, co-newcomer of the year, whatever it is in the Big 12, right? But we're 6-6 and lose what, 4 of those in 1-score games.
Yep.
2 of them TCU beats us no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Texas, we don't have Dylan Gabriel. They're a better team, but you just never know with that game, right? The inconsistency on offense, just not being able to put drives on top of drives on top of drives, right?
Yep.
It's drive and then sputter and then deep pass for a touchdown and then sputter.
Correct.
Touchdown.
Correct.
Yeah, the two best examples are the OSU game and the Texas Tech game, and those came at the end of the year. That's ridiculous. You can't have that happen. You're supposed to get better as the year goes on, and you're being inconsistent.
West Virginia, even we only scored 20 points.
Yeah.
What are y'all doing? We put up 400 yards. You only scored 20 points on West Virginia.
Recency
Neil Brown's West Virginia Mountaineers.
Recency bias. The worst that I've ever felt watching OU is the Rose Bowl against Georgia, where they couldn't help Kyler against Alabama, getting dusted by LSU, and then the Texas game this year. Those are the 4 instances where my heart was taken out of my chest and fed to me. And I really hated that this year. And to be where we were, like you said, Ryan, after those 3 games, those first 3 games of start, if you would have told me 2 weeks later, that's how I would have felt, I would have been like, you're high. There's no way.
This is a playoff team.
Yeah, I'm like, this team is going to the playoff. Have you not seen what they've done? They're
like Dylan Gabriel's going to win the Heisman.
Maybe we lose to Texas. You never know that one. We're going undefeated after that.
I know.
Like Big 12 championship. Who said? I remember someone saying at the beginning of the season, if this team doesn't win the Big 12 championship, like they're a joke or they're a fraud. It was
definitely sounds like me. Definitely sounds like me, especially the fraud part.
That was like the first. That was the first 3 games after the first 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get a Matt Gann? Can we get a Matt Gann?
Yeah, historian.
New commit alert.
New commit alert.
The McCullough brothers have both committed.
Heck
to the
yeah.
university.
Wow, some breaking news on the
Hey,
Program Guys
breaking news
podcast.
on the pod. So,
Breaking news you're going to hear tomorrow morning. It's going to be electric.
Yeah. And
we
Kyler
don't-
Murray towards the ACL. So
Oh, that's awful.
yeah.
Patrick,
Not
what?
good.
Patrick,
Sorry.
why did you? No, we were.
Kyler just tore it. I was just saying we were. Yeah.
Whoa.
Just tore it in the game tonight.
Yeah. Kyler just tore his ACL.
Hold on.
Well, I
Who
sent you
said
guys.
that?
I sent you guys a text.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I didn't know if anyone saw it.
Wait, hold
We
on.
go
I'm
from-
processing here.
Hold on. We go from the good
Mhm.
new recruit alert, the commit alert.
Yeah.
And then we get the terrible news, and there's not even a new alert. to get me
He just
ready.
drops it on us and is like,
Sorry,
hey,
that was
you
that
get
was
2
abrupt.
seconds to celebrate the brothers committing, and then I'm gonna give you the worst news of the day."
Man.
Patrick's a little rusty for not being on the pod last week.
Yeah, a little rusty.
Okay, tough
Well, that's
for the
terrible.
Cardinals.
That's
tough
really
for all of
bad.
us. Tough for Kyler Murray. Prayers up for Kyler. Back to the good news.
Yes.
The McCullough brothers are 2 dynamic defensive recruits. One of them, the older one, went to Indiana, but he had been recruited to Ohio State, something like that.
Yeah.
Like he is a dynamic football player. Dan McCullough was committed to Cincinnati before Luke Fickell went on to Wisconsin, and then quickly became a big time target for the Oklahoma staff. It is exciting that we can get both of these guys. Deshaun, the older one, I've heard is being looked at as a cheetah option. You can say that about 50,000 guys on the defense. It's a lot of fun, but very cool to pick up 2 guys like that late in the process here.
Little info from our guy, Josh Calloway. Deshaun McCullough, like you said,
Friend of the pod.
2021 4-star recruit, ranked number 9 edge rusher in the country in 2021. 49 total tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks last season as a true freshman. So that's Deshaun
He
McCullough.
was
That's
he was
man.
Indiana's #1 recruit, which I know,
Dang.
you know,
Yeah.
but still, Their top
like
recruit.
all time, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like he was really like high up there.
Mm.
Regardless, that's good. That's good. All right, back on the wagon here. Matt, go ahead and give me your overall offensive thought.
Yeah, I think we've hit on a lot of good points so far. A lot of my points are redirected to what Patrick mentioned earlier about Eric Gray, but I think more of the offensive line. If you just kind of let the first two games go away, I think the offensive line and the running game in tandem were probably the most consistent. I think we were averaging close to almost 200 yards a game, so you knew every single game that Eric Gray, Javonte Barnes, mainly Eric Gray, we're going to get theirs. But I think the offensive line improved greatly from those first two games, protected DG a lot. They're obviously going to give up sacks, but to have 200 yards a game, I mean, that's what you want out of your offense. One of the other biggest things coming into the season was, okay, new offensive system. We got Levy. Where is this offense going to sit? We were averaging close to 500 plus yards last year. We ended up at 472. I think for me, the offense was there. It was just more of situational play calling and third down conversions what really hurt us. Like Mark said, we just couldn't put multiple drives together. We would have a couple big drives, long passes, and then we would just sputter, leaving our defense on the field for more than what we wanted, and they just couldn't handle it. So for me, I'm glad the offense didn't step too far down. I think it's a lot more execution on those third down conversions, but really happy to see that our offensive line into trenches and that run game were the most consistent. Hopefully we can carry that momentum moving forward, because last season we kind of got away from the running game, especially in tough spots. So hopefully we continue that moving forward.
Okay. Mark, did you have something to add?
I agree with everything that Matt said there. Every word of it until he said the thing about carrying it into next year. We're just losing too much up front to think that. I mean, it's going to be like Jacob Sexton, Jake Taylor, Tyler Guyton, just unproven commodities up front.
That's fair. But I mean, isn't that kind of what we were saying this year? Weren't they kind of unproven?
Anton Harrison was a first round
yeah.
projection, and Wanya Morris was a draft prospect this time last year. McCabe Tower was coming off an all Pac-12 second team, and I don't think he lived up to that billing.
No, he didn't at all.
So I would think we were a little more excited, and they played well. I thought we were never worried about the offensive line, like really getting manhandled.
No,
after say the Texas game, right? Yeah. And if there were problems, it was always like Dylan can't really see what's happening, or Dylan needs to get out of there.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mark. Your point.
Bang. So here we go. On offense, my takeaway this year was that it was the year of the holdover. So for all the talk and discussion that we have had and others have had, and really harped on about the turnover on the roster, losing guys, and obviously losing important guys. Everyone who contributed to the team this year just about was someone who contributed to last season's team too. Basically, if you were a contributor for Oklahoma's offense last season, you were a contributor this season too. Now, for the purposes of my research, I didn't include Jaleel Farouk as a holdover player. He had 4 catches in 2 games last year. So do whatever math you got to do there to make that work for you. But essentially just yards from scrimmage, right? 73% of our yards per scrimmage come from holdover players. And a lot of these guys are leaving. 71% of our touchdowns come from holdover players. A lot of these guys are leaving. That's Eric Gray, gone. Marvin Mims, I think, gone. Braden Willis, gone. Drake Stoops, probably gone. Theo Weiss, gone. That's all the touchdowns. That's all of them. Marcus Major had 5. That's cool. Javonte Barnes had 4. That's cool. Jaleel had 4 of his own. That's the 30% that we have coming back, right? You go to straight like rushing numbers, only 40% of our 36% of our yards are coming back. Receiving, 19% of our receiving yards are coming back. Because like we've discussed before, all we did was lock in on 3 or 4 guys. Right? It's Marvin Mims, Drake Stoops, Braden Willis, and either Theo Weiss or Jaleel Farouk. That's all we did. And I don't know why Jaden Gibson can't get in the game. I'm not sure why Gavin Freeman can't be more than a gadget player for the team, but we found our guys and we stuck to them, and all of them were like the Daniel Parker thing didn't work out, right? He's not a contributor. And I mean, thankfully at this point, right? But we have to see development from some of these wide receivers, from one of these two tight ends, from one of these running backs, from a true freshman, at least this year. We got to see something, because all these guys are leaving, save for, the one or two I said.
This is kind of a question for anybody who may know the answer. Do you think the lack of wide receiver rotation was due to LaDainian Washington saying, no, these are the guys, or Jeff Levy kind of seeing in practice and being like, no, these are the 4 or the 5 that we're going to ride with every single week?
I could see it being the second, because it seemed like we had trouble getting the ball to our guys if they weren't plays for the guys specifically.
Okay. I get what you're saying. So like designed plays for like Farouk or something, or Marvin, and that's kind of where it went. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of gets to what we've talked about with the offense not really having a flow to it most of the time, where it's like, all right, shot play to Marvin. All right, sweep play to Jaleel. Okay, run. Seam play to Braden Willis. Oh, thank God we got the touchdown, because I don't have something to do after that.
Yeah,
that it felt like we got there a couple times more than a couple times this season, and it's a little concerning, especially when all the guys who are playing football have left.
Yeah. Ryan, Matt, anything to add on that?
We haven't talked about it at all, but I think I would like DG to be back. I think we absolutely need him.
That's a great point, Matt.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it at all. I know we're talking about other things, but
because I'm about to talk about it right now.
Is that a segue?
Well,
that's a segue from Matt Gann. I love to see it, man. The guy's locked in. Producer Matt. I love it, man. So my takeaway from this season was that Dylan was better than we have given him credit for. And that is because, listen to this, he led the conference in passing yards. He only played 11 games. Max Duggan, remember that guy who was in New York this week for the Heisman, played 13 games. He was third in the conference in pass yards. If you want the stats, the gaudy stats, Dylan played very well according to that. Now, we are all on record as saying Dylan didn't make some of the right reads, some of the easy throws, they weren't there this year that have to be there. And I think that's why Dylan is going to come back and develop into a better quarterback next year. And he has to. We need him, because we've seen what the other option is. Now, if Dylan leaves, I think 100% Jackson Arnold is the starting quarterback next year. He's 100%.
Yeah, we don't have anybody else.
I know.
We can't put Bevel.
So is that a good or a bad thing? Do you want to start a true freshman? I don't think you do. Not in a transition like we're going through right now after a 6-6 season. I think that's the last thing you want to do. I think you want to give Jackson some time to get accustomed to college life and college football. And that's why I think Dylan, we didn't give him enough credit. OU fans wanted him to be Baker or Kyler or Jalen Hurts or Caleb Williams, and he's not that guy. He's not. But if you look at the stats, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Was he in New York like Patrick wanted him to be? No, he wasn't. But that doesn't mean he can't be next year. He has the tools. He has the talent to do so. It's just about getting there. And I think he can, because from all accounts that I've heard, he's a solid leader, and he wants to play football, and he wants to get better, and he loves his teammates. That's a guy who, if he puts his head down over the summer, in the spring, he's going to come out a completely different quarterback, and for the better, next year. That's my opinion.
Can I add one thing onto that? Because I think another thing that, we're going to find out next year, if hopefully he comes back, because I agree with everything you said, Mason. I've been particularly hard on him this year.
And it's been fair. I want that to be, he has underperformed at times. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. But I do think part of the reason why next year will be better is he will have someone behind him. Like right now, we found out what happens when we don't have Dylan Gabriel, right?
Mhm.
there's a sense that like it's him or it's nothing. Next year, that's not going to be the case. Not necessarily. He's going to have somebody that if he is not good enough, they will yank him and they'll put in Jackson Arnold. They'll do it. They did it for Caleb Williams. Like it could potentially happen. I'm not saying it will, but it could potentially happen. And I think that breeds a little bit of competition, which I think improves people and makes them better. So that's what I'm hoping to see out of DG next year.
All right, we
Yeah,
got to move. We got to move on, but make your point quick. You got it, Matt. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just real quick trivia question. Anyone know who the last true starting quarterback OU was before Caleb Williams?
True
The starting
freshman.
OU. Yeah, true freshman. Caleb Williams got it over Spencer Rattler, but before that, like how rare it is.
Man,
Was a former assistant for OU this past year.
Cal Gundy.
Cale Gundy, 1990.
Cale Gundy, wow.
That's how rare. That's how rare.
I was going to say Jamel
Holloway.
Holloway, but that wasn't.
Close.
Yeah,
That's how rare it is.
The one thing on Dylan Gabriel for me is, are we just going to see the exact things that we talked about week after week cleaned up? The overthrows, the intermediate passing. I don't know how much of the intermediate passing is offensive game planning versus Dylan not seeing the guys out of there. I don't know, but are we going to see those two things cleaned up? Because if you see those cleaned up, yeah, he's perfect. He's doing everything right.
Mhm.
It's very specific issues that I have with the way that he plays football for us.
That's fair. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, good points, but at the end of the day, he wasn't the ceiling raiser. He's not a ceiling raiser. We lost four games by one score. That's partly because he's not a ceiling raiser. So that's just like my
Well, I think it's
devil's
more about,
advocate.
It's more about the defense, which is what we should get to next. Mason, let's get to it.
Pat Can on fire today. let's go ahead and talk about the defense. I'll start us off.
Going long.
Do what?
I said, folks, this one's going long.
Yeah, this one's going to be a little longer. We'll try to not hustle, but we'll move on. So I'll start us off. The lack of the pass rush for me for the defense was the biggest takeaway, and that's going to cause you problems everywhere else on the defensive field. The fact that you can't get pressure causes your linebackers who aren't good in coverage to stay in coverage longer. It makes your defensive back stay in coverage longer for long deep shots or crossing routes, any of that stuff. You have to be able to get pressure with 4 or you're dead in today's college football. And you couldn't all year long. They could not get pressure.
Didn't even try.
No.
Sent 3 half the time.
I know. You have to be able to do that or else you will not be a good football team. And they know that. They know that. Brent's a smart enough defensive mind that he understands that. They just didn't have the guys, the horses to do it. Jeffrey Johnson's a fine player, but he is not the kind of guy that they need up there in the middle. He's just not. Jonah Lalu is a great player as well. Not the guy. Just not it on the edge. So that's my biggest takeaway is the lack of pressure, and that causes so many other issues that we're going to talk about for the defense. But for me, that's where it starts and that's where it finishes.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of names, and we were kind of hopeful that getting Todd Bates in the building, getting Brent Venables in the building would turn these guys into their most actualized versions, right? I remember being very excited myself about Jalen Redmond moving to the 3-tech and the potential that I saw there. Jalen had a fine year. He was fine, right? He was in a rotation of fine players. We need guys that are better than fine, because we saw this year that unless all the fine guys are working in exact unison together, understanding everything that's going on, the defense breaks here and there. And so you need game changers up front that can get after the quarterback in situations where you're not even planning on it. You need real game breakers like Brent has had at Clemson before.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and start with Ryan. Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll make this one quicker than my last one. I want to quickly, just going back to what you said, Mason, on that euphoric feeling that we had after Nebraska. And I remember sitting here in this postgame with you guys and being like, this defense is bigger. This defense is faster. This defense is stronger. We're going to go to the playoff, baby. Like all those things. Fast forward 9 weeks, and none of that actually happened. This team is not bigger. This team is not faster. This team is not stronger. And I think we were just so excited for that coming in. We were like, Schmitty's back. All this is going to be solved. Like, all of our problems are going to be solved. And then we came to the real conclusion that these problems were bigger than just a couple new staff people or the entire staff on the defensive side could fix. And I think it's going to take time, and we need to give this staff time to do it. But yeah, I mean, my biggest takeaway is like everything that we thought coming into this and everything that we felt like we had going for us after the 3 games that we started this season completely fell apart. And it was because we didn't have the bodies, and the bodies that we did have weren't what we wanted them or needed them to be. So that's my take.
I think you're right. Matt, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, it's pretty much set me up right there, Ron. I really appreciate it.
That's
You're
why I
doing a great
picked you,
job
brother.
tonight. And with the news stuck in the past, brand new coaching staff, a lot of defensive guys. You're thinking BV would come in and just completely shift what OU has dealt with the last 3 to 4 years. And after the 3, like everyone said, after the 3 games, we're like, wow, we got a top 10 defense. We're rolling. We're getting pressure. What could possibly go wrong? And then, like you said, the wagons just fell off, and we ran into the exact same issues we've seen. The OU defense can't get off the field, not being able to get stops on 3rd downs, all of those things, not getting pressure. I think the schemes just didn't work. I know BV's got a very complicated defense that he runs. Again, that does take time, but you think the defense would just gradually improve, and just marginally just got worse and worse every single game. And that's what OU fans have come to see the last few years, giving up big plays, giving up a lot of yards, a lot of points, going into these shootouts. And that's not what you want to see, especially what BV is known for. He made the career at Clemson. Even though his first year was not great, the following 2 seasons, he had top 3 or top 10 defenses. So that's what you ultimately want. He needs to get his guys in there. Didn't have it this year, not big enough, like you said, not fast enough. Just really kind of hard to see. And it didn't seem like, I don't know what the communication was, who's really calling the plays. It seemed like Ted Roof took over that job. I think BV is going to have to step in and do that. I don't think Ted Roof's the guy to do that. BV just didn't look too involved from what I could see. I think he was trying too hard to be a head coach rather than what his specialty is. And I get it. That's hard to do, especially in your first year. Defense has got to get better. It looks really, really bad at times. So we'll see what the new system happens, or what will happen.
Okay. Patrick?
We're the second to worst defense in the Big 12. We gave up 900 yards more this past year than we did the previous year.
Oof.
We were not disciplined, unorganized. Nothing got better. I think it's on everyone as a collective. I know a lot of people are saying we didn't have the horses. I get it. But not getting better is a coaching problem too. I'm very worried in general, and I hope this gets better.
Okay.
Wait, I want to know. Wait, so what has you very worried? Like
That we didn't get better at all, and we're losing a lot of guys. I don't want to talk about the future too much, but that's it.
if we held Texas Tech to 28 points, do you think you'd feel this way? Because I think that last game really broke us.
No, I think I'd feel better.
Yeah.
But there needs to be big changes internally.
I can get where you're coming from about we're losing a lot of guys, but at the same time, that's kind of okay with me because some of the guys that are leaving were just kind of guys that we were like, okay, cool, I guess he's going to play. They weren't guys we were like rah-rahing for. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
good churn is good sometimes.
Yeah, good churn is good. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, so my takeaway this season, just looking more at the macro on the defense, was we need the linebackers to be elite, and they weren't quite elite. Now, our 3 leading tacklers were our linebackers, right? Stutzman had 118. David Agwebu had 101. Deshaun White had 81. That's 30% of all the tackles anyone made on the team were out of those 3 guys. That's a lot of tackles. We're funneling plays to those players. A lot of the underneath defensive pass work is done by those players as well. They need to be capable blitzers because we run a ton of exotic blitzes out of different various looks. We obviously go 3 down, 4 down. We put them in a lot of difficult situations mentally, and they have to be able to maintain and specialize and function through a lot of stuff. And we saw guys not quite there yet, I would say, right? Deshaun White played awesome for the, like 4th game up until Texas Tech and then lost everything. That really sucks. David Igwebu, fine most of the year, whatever. Danny Stutzman, flashes and most of the time playing well, right? Most plays playing well, but when it was bad, it was bad. We're not looking forward, but excited for Jaren Kanak and excited for another year of development for that room, because it is a hard defense to learn, a hard position to play. And we saw guys who just didn't quite have it yet.
Yep. Start us off with the wild card round as well, Mark.
Yeah, so sort of to the same point on not having it yet, I think we were all look, I won't speak for anyone else. I'll speak for myself. I was over the top excited about this season and the thought that we would have a quick turnaround from, hey, we didn't even make the Big 12 conference game last year, to potentially a playoff. That's what I thought was going to happen. The first 3 weeks of the season did nothing to make me think differently, right? I was on the bandwagon hard. We really came down to earth a little bit, and I think that's probably a good thing. But I want to emphasize that I believe the direction is still what we thought it was. We're still on the right path. This is still how you build a winning football team. It's not copy and paste an offense and a system into a new location. It's putting the work in, getting recruits, developing guys, making sure they are ready to play real-time football from the moment they hit the field. So obviously the report came out today that we're possibly moving in 24 to the SEC. I certainly hope that it's 25, because I think 2 more seasons of letting this coaching staff mold the clay that they're recruiting is only going to do good things for us moving forward. I think the clay they got was already a little too molded, and it'll be nice to see some new pieces and some new spots next season. Bang. All right. Patrick, what you got for us? Okay.
Whoa.
Mason was looking at his computer.
Sorry, I was reading just a little tidbit of information. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you're good.
Whoever's next.
Who's going?
I'll take it.
Matt.
Don't you worry. Patrick's staring off into space over there, my guy. I got you. Don't you worry. You're up next, though.
Matt.
Shut up, Pat. Anyways, here we go. My wild card is the transfer portal. This is all we talk about. It's pretty much free agency for college football. Did it work for the OU Sooners this year? Not going to talk about the future. We don't like the future right now. We're talking right now, the current recap. The 2 biggest transfers were obviously DG is one of them, because he literally accounted for all the offense other than Eric Gray. So we need DG back. He proved to be probably the best transfer because we needed a quarterback, right? Because we saw what Bevel, we saw what Nick Evers, well, we won't get to see a chance for Nick Evers. DG, and I'll say probably on the defensive side, probably CJ Colton. I think he was probably our most improved cornerback other than Woody Washington. He was already there. Just a lot of the defensive line guys like Jeffrey Johnson, like Jonah Lulu, I think he had productive games, but I just don't think they produced as much as we hoped for. So, again, the transfer portal, did it work? BV keeps talking about he wants to develop, recruit his own guys. I think he's just going to have to keep getting the transfer portal, just like when Mark broke the breaking news earlier. There's going to be talent in there every single year.
He needs it for depth, honestly. Yeah.
Right. We need bodies, and we got to find the right guys that's going to find his system. He just didn't have it this year because, again, there was a lot of turnover from last year's team. So I think this year's transfer portal was just about getting people into the room, getting them on the field. But I hope DG and CJ Colton come back. They were our 2 biggest transfers that came in that were actually producing and consistent throughout the entire year. So hopefully we'll see what happens in the future. But transfer portal, did it work? Offensively, yes. CJ Colton, Yeah, I'll take it.
Love it.
McCabe
Ryan.
Tower, another
Oh,
key
go
transfer. Tyler Guyton, another key transfer. You mentioned Laulu, Jeffrey Johnson, CJ Colden, Connie Walker. Number of transfers that came in. That's all. Just wanted to hit on.
But my point was, did it work? Do you think those guys had consistent production all year?
Oh,
We just
Daniel
talked about
Parker,
Cademan.
another big one.
Right. Do you think Cademan Tower did? No. Do you think?
I don't think Daniel Parker
Guys,
did.
I don't think so. That's why I'm
On balance, because of the Dylan Gabriel thing, you have to
Right.
say yes, right? I mean, if you got a quarterback, you got everything you need. I
Ryan.
guess.
I don't think it worked.
Okay. I called an audible at the last minute, so I'm picking something else because I felt like I was being very negative, and I
Okay.
feel like I need to end on a positive note. So guys, I hammered this home during the year. The lights at the stadium. So this is a wild card. I can pick whatever I want. So I love the lights because I think this goes into like a bigger conversation around what the University of Oklahoma is investing in the campus, in the stadium, in the environment, in the culture. I think all of those things, if you have a physical manifestation of them this year, it is the lights that we're changing. And I think there's going to be tons of other things that change over the next couple of years, especially as we go over to the SEC. But it's something that made I remember just watching them at the Bedlam game, and it was fantastic. It livens up the crowd. It makes everything feel better than sometimes it is, like the Kansas State game. And I think it's going to be a huge investment for us moving forward as we go to the SEC. I know we're not talking about future. Sorry, Patrick. But it's like this year, it felt like something that like specifically changed and in anticipation for something that is coming. And I thought it was super positive, and I want to end on a positive note. So
Love it.
you guys know I love the lights.
Pat, go ahead.
Yeah, credit where credit is due on that. Tyler Kofer coming in, changing the entire
Loves him.
game experience for OU fans, and OU fans is my wild card. Even in the thick of it, things got real bad this season. I felt as OU fan base, we continued to support our coach. No one was really calling for his head. There was, I mean, maybe all the coaches really. There was a lot of hate on Levy, but no hate on BV. The Levy hate sometimes justified, probably not a lot justified as well. So I think that OU fans just did a really good job continuously supporting our team this year. We weren't like A&M in the UMass game where you didn't see anyone in the stadium. We were out there every time, loud, packed stadium.
Yep. Hi, Rosie.
People don't love Ted Roof is the one I'd say to that.
Yeah.
But no one's like yelling for anyone to get fired, really. I don't think. I'm not seeing it. Are you guys seeing it?
I mean, people definitely aren't happy with Ted Roof, but like, I don't know. I can
People were
say,
down bad
but, like,
after the Tech game.
But like
I
Mike
mean,
Stoops, people were like, you know.
oh yeah.
That's,
I mean,
it
they're
was
not
like
at that
anything
level.
like that
even
level.
Yeah.
No, that's no.
Yeah,
But
they're
even
not at
close.
that level.
But
Yeah.
it never
I don't
could
think-
because of the bloodline thing. It could
I don't
never
think you-
get there.
I don't want to like bring this up now because I think this is a bigger topic and hopefully someone can touch on in the future. But like, were you guys around when Brent Venables was our defensive coordinator and the amount of hate that he got?
Yeah, I remember
And how
the
people
hate that he got.
despised him.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. So I
Yep.
think considering where he is at now, he's got a ton of support from the OU fan base.
Yeah. So transitioning to that, my takeaway, just one final thing is Brent Venables. And it's that he didn't look 100% comfortable being a head coach at times. There were some questionable decisions with some timeouts at key points in games that didn't seem like they made a whole lot of sense. Sometimes we know how involved he is with the defense. Sometimes the offense maybe needs a little juice from their head coach to get fired up and not stall out on drives as much. Maybe the defense in particular situations, you could be in Ted Roof's ear a little bit more to be like, hey, maybe we run this play, this coverage, this blitz this time. So I don't think that he did a bad job, but there's just things that he's going to have to get used to as a head coach that I think this year he learned and grew from. And the last thing that I want to leave the viewers and the people with, OU is 6-6 right now. They have a chance to go 7-6 in Brent Venables' first year. Do you know who else went 7-6 in their first year at their current stop? Nick Saban.
Nick Saban
At Alabama. He went 7-6 with not his recruits, not his players, not his program. He took over a Mike Shula program that had NCAA violations, and he turned that thing around. Granted, he's Nick Saban. He's the GOAT. He's the best coach there's ever been. I'm just saying, if you want to be that kind of caliber of program, you can make that turnaround. If you recruit your butt off enough and you develop your guys enough, you can turn it around. 2 years later, they were undefeated and national champions. So that's
I even think like a little closer to home, Bob Stoops. He was 7-5.
Exactly.
7-5 first year.
yeah, but like people knew that. I wanted to say
Yeah.
one of
Okay.
the
I
people
thought you were gonna say
didn't.
Bob Stoops, and I was
I
gonna
know.
be like, really?
I thought
I wanted to throw you a little curveball there. You
There
know
it
what I
is.
mean?
Nice.
So yeah, let us know down below in the comments. What were you guys most taking away from the offense, from the defense, maybe a little wild card? We'd love to read all your comments. Let us know if you agree or disagree with us. Always love to see that as well. You can tweet at us. Our handles should be down here as well. Love interacting with you guys on social media as well. Boys, we good to move on to Circle the Wagons real quick?
I just really like what your point was, Mason. I wanted
Thank
to
you.
say that.
Yeah.
I think that Brent brings a lot of really great things to the table, and he's hindering himself in certain ways with how he chooses to coach specifically on game day.
Yeah, and again, first year head coach.
He's gonna
He can
figure it
learn.
out.
He
Gonna
can
figure it
learn
out.
and he can learn and get better. That's not
he's
an
got-
indictment from day one that he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. That's just not it. That's just not
And he-
true.
And he's got some of the best who's ever done it, like in his back pocket, right?
Yeah,
That he
yeah.
can rely
I don't
on
know-
and he can call on and
And
all that
folks,
stuff.
I don't know if
He's
you
gonna be fine.
noticed or not. I'm sure you have. The dudes are recruiting their ass off right now,
No, they are.
and they're building a good class after a 6-6 regular
Everywhere.
season. They're
Yeah.
grinding right now, in-home visits, taking pictures, all that stuff. They're grinding right now. So I feel like I have more faith in Brent now than I did, just because I know what he's been through and what he can do to get better. And he's a smart enough man to know that. All right, Matt, circle those wagons. Let's get it, baby.
So I was going to say, you know who's been grinding? Me for this segment. Circle the wagons. Here we go.
my God.
Very quick. OU's women's basketball has entered the top 25. Recently beat Robert Morrison 94-65. So we love the Lady Sooners getting ranked. Hopefully they can continue to take that momentum. They play Southern U this upcoming Sunday, and then they have an SEC matchup against Florida just a few days later. So love to see that. Talked about OU men's wrestling. They had Bedlam this weekend, came up a little short, lost 21-15. Listen, I'm not a point expert when it comes to wrestling. Not sure if it was close or
No
what it
idea
is.
either.
They lost. They took the L. You never.
OSU acted like they won the national title, though. Shout out to them, freaking bums.
They always do.
They always do with wrestling.
I know.
Yep. And one last group I need to get to is OU men's basketball. We did have boots on the ground.
I was there.
Mason, what did you think of the men's basketball? They ended up losing to a top 10 team in Arkansas. What did you think of the Sooners on Saturday?
I mean, flat out, Arkansas is just the better team, but Porter Moser's team plays up and down to their competition, and I think that's kind of weird. They're not a consistent team. They play very well against the good teams, and they play poorly against the bad teams. That arena was 70% Arkansas, so that was essentially a home game for Arkansas in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But I thought OU played well. I didn't think they were going to win that game. Arkansas is a unit and another pick to make a run at a Final Four this year. So I thought OU played well.
Yeah, I watched the game as well. It looks like the offense runs really through Grant Sherfield. I mean,
Yeah.
he is a baller. Great transfer he got in. But when he's on the court, OU seems a little lost. And Arkansas has just got some guys on their team. So
A rough
good
game from
game.
Groves as well, from Tanner Groves as
Right.
well. He just kind of couldn't get it going. So,
Inconsistency for
yeah.
sure. But top 10 team ended up playing them pretty close. And OU now will play this weekend against Central Arkansas. And they will also play Florida, just like the Lady Sooners next week as well. Probably an SEC type matchup. But that is just a quick update for Circle the Wagons. I'm ready to move on.
love it. Pat, 2 minutes of soccer. Let's go.
Oh, I wasn't going to do the 2-minute thing. I just wanted to chat
All right,
about
1 minute
our
of soccer
FIFA
or whatever. Whatever
Yeah,
you
we got
Go
the
ahead.
FIFA rankings. I was just going to give an update on our bracket because we have, I think, 27 people in our bracket, which is
Love
pretty awesome. First and second place are my brother and my dad. And
Not
then
Shout out.
shocked. Not shocked at all.
Who's third?
who's third? Mason Prince, our host, third place. Gotta love it.
Mason
And
knows
is
soccer.
fifth.
Freaking no
Mason
soccer.
does know soccer. If you have any questions on this podcast about soccer, you ask Mason.
Wait,
first.
Hugh was fifth?
He was fifth. I'm eighth. Tyson's 14 and Mark is 21st.
Oof.
Not a good look for Mark, but everybody
I'm
else.
in the I'm in the 19th percentile. I think.
Love it. Love it.
Really killing it. But yeah,
11th
thanks for everyone
percentile,
for
11th
for
percentile.
joining. We got
Yeah.
the games tomorrow and Wednesday coming up, in the World Cup final on Sunday.
Perfect. Gonna be
Sad
awesome.
It's over. Sad
I know. It's wrapping up.
It is.
It's wrapping
fun.
up. All right, let's do our PGP MVPs of the week. Let us know down below who your MVP of the week is. Give them a little shout out in the comments. My MVP of the week, a little surprising, guys. I told you a little bit earlier, but my MVP of the week is Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert had an amazing game against the Miami Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. Crushed my dreams. The Dolphins look absolutely lost. The whole talk leading into the week was, did the Dolphins draft the right guy in Tua? Justin Herbert struggling a little bit this season. Tua was having a pretty solid year up until last week and this week. And Justin Herbert goes out and rips my throat out and stomps on my grave with over 400 yards passing, almost 500 yards passing. They looked in control of the game from the jump. Justin Herbert could not be stopped. He looked like one of the top tier quarterbacks in the league. So shout out to Justin Herbert, my MVP of the week. Go ahead, Ryan.
I know that was tough for you, Mason.
It was. I don't want to do it
This is-
anymore.
okay. All right, cool. I mean, to me, I feel like this one is like we talked about it at the top of the episode, but it's Baker Mayfield. With just like an incredible story for like not just this week, but the entire year, and an incredible performance. Drove his team 98 yards with a minute 30 left and no timeouts, which is like hasn't been done very often, like if at all. So and he did it with 36 hours notice and didn't know the playbook and was barely there. So yeah, Baker Mayfield MVP.
I had a really long MVP. I'm going to do it next week because this has been a long episode. I'm going to give it to second string quarterbacks in the NFL, Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy, or just like, not starting quarterbacks that have had a great year. Mike
Backups.
White, the backups, Geno Smith, Mike White,
Desmond
Baker Mayfield,
Ritter.
Desmond Ritter, killing it. Brock Purdy. I mean, they're making football fun. That's fun stuff to watch. That's cool. Shout out to them.
Love it. Mark.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the new transfer portal. I know that it's crazy, and I'm trying to separate the NIL aspect of all of this, but at least it is siloed within this period of time, and it's hot and heavy and fast and furious and rapid, and it's all crazy, but Brent Venables is all over the country all at once, and we just got a flip and a new commit. It's super exciting to say, if nothing else, and our guys' usage of it, because this guy Deshaun McCullough is the real deal. He led Big Ten freshmen in tackles last year. Like he was multiple outlets, all American freshman team.
Love it.
Real talent that we're pulling in as with this thing.
Awesome.
Young talent too. Young talent. That's big, I think.
Yeah, not
Yep.
just like
Graduate transfers.
junior Jacob Lacey. It's a freshman coming in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Matt.
Yeah, I didn't put it in there. I want to keep it maybe a
Oh, here we
surprise.
go.
Oh no.
Boys' night
girlfriend.
last weekend. No,
Boys'
stop
night.
it.
New girlfriend.
Boys' night. It's about the boys, the Dallas crew. We went out last Friday night, had
The
a good
guys.
time. Went to our favorite place. That's why, Mark, I had to bring it up because I knew you were wearing it. Our favorite bar is closing down. It will no longer be there. But
So sad.
That's sad.
put some
It's very
memorabilia with
depressing.
us. Very depressing. We had a good last round last Friday. Always good to see the boys, and I'm glad, Mark, you got the hat, so we never forget the best place in Anderson. So shout out to boys.
So that Logie's is the one that we went to, right? In
Correct.
Dallas. Oh,
Yes.
that's
Closing
so-
down.
Closing
Do
I
we
love
know the
that
day
place.
that it's closing?
December 18th.
Yeah, this
Oh my God, is this week? No.
Let's.
So if you're in the
let's
Dallas
find-
area, make
we'll
sure to
figure
go
a
to
time.
Logies.
Maybe a
You gotta get to Logies, people.
maybe a small program meetup at
Yeah.
Logies.
Yeah.
Shout out to
all
Boys
right.
Nut.
All right, boys. Anything else before we get out of here?
Don't go play basketball at Texas.
Don't. Yikes.
Ooh, that's
don't.
tough.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Be sure to like, subscribe on our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Twitter at Program Guys with a Z, Instagram Program Guys with a Z, our Facebook page Program Guys Podcast. However you get your podcast, that's where you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Remember, bowl game pick'em down below in the comments section of however you're consuming this podcast. Be sure to join it. Going to be a lot of fun to do during bowl season. That's going to do it for this week's episode. All the boys are back. It was so nice. Pat, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.